I'm Len Manning. I served with the RAF during the Second World War with 57 Squadron. We were told that we were going on a raid to Nevers in south of France. We got down there without too much bother, and when we got down there the place was all lit up, ready for the bombing, and we flew on the bombing course, dropped the bombs, turned around and came back, and had very little problems. So we got back and we thought, that's good. If it's going to be like this, it's going to be a piece of cake. How wrong can you be? We set another course for the target, and about 20 minutes later there was an enormous crash, an explosion in the port wing, and immediately flames started coming past my turret, and the turret stopped working because the hydraulic motors for the turrets were in the port engine, so that had stopped working. The intercom had gone dead, so I couldn't talk to anybody. So the only thing to do was to get out of the turret, which I had to turn by hand. You had a handle which you could turn it round to line it up with the fuselage. Open the two doors that were on the turret, then open the other big door, climb up this chute backwards, pull yourself up, drop down into the fuselage, get your parachute, which was on the other side in a little compartment, get that on. Well, you've got two hooks on your parachute harness, on the observer type parachute, one on each side. Now the plane was going down at a pretty steep angle by that, and I was burning as well. So I managed to get one of the hooks of the parachute on my harness, and the other one I couldn't get on at all. So I thought, I'd seen the mid-upper gunner, he'd gone out, he'd opened the door and jumped out into the night, but he didn't seem to have any problems because he got straight out the turret. And so I thought, well, you know, if I don't go now, I'm not going to go. So I went out, jumped out the door with only one side of the harness on. As I fell, I was hanging to one side because I was only on one strap, and I felt something brush my face, and I thought, I wonder what that is. So I reached up, and it was my intercom cord. The helmet had got tangled up in the shrouds of the parachute, and that was hanging down. So I hung on to that, and probably that saved my life because it stopped me falling off. But on the way down, I kept saying to myself, I've got to get down before I drop off of this thing. And it was, as I say, it was smouldering away. And as soon as I hit the ground, it burst into flame. So I jumped on it and rolled it up and pushed it into the hedge so the Germans wouldn't find it, hopefully. And got my compass out and thought, well, let's head south towards the second front. I was very lucky because they happened to be members of the resistance, and they took me in and looked after me for the night, took my uniform and boots and tidied my wounds up a bit as well as they could. And the following day the Germans came looking for me. I was up in the bedroom, and I could hear them talking to the farmer and the farmer's wife, and you could hear them shouting at one another. And I was terrified that that they'd give in and let him in, but they didn't, and they got away with it 2 or 3 times. I mean, it wasn't only once. That was the reason they decided to move me out. So eventually we turned up in this little village of WW2, and at this little cafe. And when I say cafe, it's not a cafe as you know it. It was just a room in the farm with a table in it and a few bottles of wine, and that was it. And it was run by two elderly ladies. Now, Madame Beaujard, she was, I think, 58 at that time, and her mother, I don't know how old she was. And I mean, these two really stuck their neck out taking me in. That's all they knew. They didn't know anything else, just that I was reported missing on the 18th and 19th of July, and they didn't know what had happened, but if they heard anything, they'd let us know. And evidently, my father, when they got the telegram saying I was missing, he went temporarily blind. I had to run. They had quite a big orchard, and there was quite a lot of land around the cafe, so I could wander around that. But I couldn't go very far into the village because one or two of them were suspected of being collaborators, especially the postman. And one evening we were sitting in the back of the bar having our evening meal, and there were the other four boys were there as well. And we could hear the Germans talking in the bar, and Madame Beaujard came through for some change, and this German followed her out, and he stood in the doorway of the back room, and he looked all round at us lot sitting at the table having our meal, and I thought, this is it. we've been done for. And he took his change and he walked straight out, much to our amazement, much to our relief. And another day I'd been out in the orchard, and I came back and, not thinking, walked straight into the bar, and to find three German stragglers sitting there drinking. Anyway, Madame Beaujard, quick thinking, she thought straight away, and she started beating me around the head with a tea towel, saying, get out, go and do your work. And I cleared off out, and we got away with it again. So we were really lucky. I'd been there almost 3 months then. A couple of young Frenchmen came into the village riding a German motorcycle which they'd taken off some Germans down the road, and they said, you're safe now, the Germans have gone. I don't know where that went, it just appeared. That was amazing, that was, and especially as it all been cleaned and darned as well, because all the sleeve was practically burnt out. Yeah, she got very emotional, so did her mum, and I think they took to me a bit, and they were sorry to see me go. I always remember walking into Pentire Road, where I lived, and coming down the road was one of our neighbours with a wheelbarrow going over to his allotment. When he looked at me, he threw the wheelbarrow down. He thought he'd seen a ghost, I think, and he went flying up the road to where I lived and got my mum and dad out, and then all hell broke loose, as you can imagine. I saw him get off his plane on the other side of the airfield and come across. He looked very apprehensive when he came along, and I thought, God, he's going to cry in a minute. And he did. He literally stood in front of me and he cried. He was a very emotional man, but a very kind man. he was amazing. He really was. Very nice bloke. I realised that he'd only done the same as we did, and consequently everything was okay. The Germans would have shot them out of hand. There was no messing about, no taking away and trying them. Just take them out and put them against the nearest wall and shoot them. And nobody could bat an eyelid. And thank them very, very, very much. Yeah. And congratulate them on their bravery, yeah, without doubt.